Well, welcome everybody. Glad you decided to join us here for the inaugural WordPress Security Roundup. It's October 2023, and we are joined today by my friend Thomas Ray from We Watch Your Website, a WordPress security expert. Welcome, Thomas. Glad you're back with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This will be pretty exciting, I think.
I think so too. So you were with us several weeks ago. We talked about some emerging threats in the WordPress security landscape. And folks really enjoyed having you here. You are an expert in this area, and we were trying to figure out a way maybe we could work you into some of our regular live streams. And this idea of a WordPress security roundup came to light. Maybe we'll give this a try for the next couple of months and just talk about what's happening in WordPress security and see what folks think. So we're really glad you're here.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm excited. It's one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is helping people protect their sites. So I always enjoy talking about it.
Yeah, so you've been doing WordPress security for a long time. And am I correct that you and your company manage manage the security or watching the security of about 6 million WordPress websites?
Yeah, it's quickly encroaching on 7 million. Just because we have our free plan, and everybody decides, not everybody, but a lot of people decide to go with that, and then they're like, well, that way, if there is a problem, then I'll sign up for your paid program. I'm like, okay, but I mean, that gives us like just tons and tons of information on a daily basis about what hackers are doing. And so some people say, you should kill that free program. It's draining your resources. But I mean, it's providing us with so much threat intelligence that I've had companies reach out and say, hey, we'd love to subscribe. If you come out with a threat intelligence feed, let us know, we'd subscribe. I'm like, okay, one more thing to do.
Folks, if you're just joining us, we're about to get started here with the WordPress Security Roundup, talking about emerging threats in the WordPress space. Thomas Rafe is with us from We Watch Your Website. The links are in the chat. If you'd like to download today's slides, we'd invite you to do that. If you're joining us live, it is live. Thomas is here. You can ask your questions, and we'll have a good time of Q&A as we wrap up today. I would ask you, please use the Zoom Q&A button right there on the toolbar. As you mouse over the shared screen, the toolbar will pop up. Click that Q&A button at the bottom, and that is where you should ask your questions rather than the chat, because we'll also give you the opportunity to upvote the questions of others. So you can just keep that Q&A window open throughout. And if somebody asks a question you also have, hit the thumbs up icon, and we'll take those questions in the order of upvotes when we get to the end today. So we have a lot to talk about, several new threats in the WordPress ecosystem. So Thomas, I'll let you take it away. I'm going to disappear. We'll come back for Q&A in just a bit.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, so what we've been finding lately, one thing I want to focus on today is this new attack vectors. It's becoming more and more obvious that hackers really, really know the WordPress ecosystem. They know what you guys are doing. They know how you do it. And just the way that their brains work, just like, many of you that are designers, somebody throws out a topic or a niche to you, and your brain starts thinking in ways of, how you could make that look nice, how you could make it look accessible, if you're like Jen. And that's just the way your brain works. Well, their brain works is like, okay, we know this system, we've learned all this stuff about WordPress and how all these agencies work. How could we get into their systems and use them to make money? So like I said, they know the ecosystem very well, and they know that agencies in particular have hundreds or thousands of websites. Maybe some of you have more, I don't know, but and the thoughts that run through the hackers' heads are, can the agencies effectively monitor all those sites? So the brain starts thinking, okay, they must have some type of way to manage it, and then they start looking into that, and they see, all the different offerings out there, and they also know that outsourcing creates opportunities for the hackers. So you outsource something to somebody because they're maybe they're terrible at marketing, so they just want to white label their services, through your agency. Well, hackers know that those opportunities are out there, and their brain starts thinking about how can we exploit those people. And like I said, yeah, in here, games that they play, and they're good at it. Throughout today's presentation, I'll talk about this one specific ploy that they do, and some of the comments that people make in the Facebook groups about having a couple of sites hacked and so forth. And then we'll talk about some simple steps. Wow, to prevent this type of attacks. So the agency landscape, as we said, you've got many websites. Many, if not all, are on maintenance plans. So that leaves you guys or agencies responsible for maintaining those websites for people. And like I said, so the responsibility falls on the agency to know what to do to keep hackers out. And hackers also know that agencies typically rely on plugins for security. And so, like I said, their brain starts to think, how can they compromise many sites with very little detection? And that's the key there, is very little, with little detection. Now, something to keep in mind throughout all this, like I said, they typically rely on plugins for security. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, hackers' brains start thinking, okay, what plugins are they using? How can we exploit those? Once we find a way in, how can we kill that? Or nullify the detection, because that's what they want. They want longevity on your websites. So can agencies monitor all their sites? Well, they can. It's going to take some concerted effort. So you can use something like iTheme Sync to automate the monitoring. It's a very nice tool. It's got some great features to it that we'll talk about throughout this. But one of the things that hackers have realized is they can attack via the management console. So I'm going to mention some names of other services, and it's not meant to slam their programming. It's nothing to do with their coding. It has to do with the opportunity. And that's what hackers are looking for. So, things like main WP, manage WP, WP umbrella, pick one. But they have one thing in common, and that is they have a login. So hackers, you could, I've mentioned this before, you could Google the term info stealer, and you'll see like thousands and thousands of pages of news articles about how hackers are using info stealers to steal information. Part of the information they're stealing is authentication cookies and usernames and passwords, you name it. But authentication cookies are perfect because you're already that presents a credential that shows that you're already authenticated. So it bypasses 2FA without any other interaction. They use that authentication cookie, bam, they're in. So the big thing is there's a concept in security called intrusion detection systems, IDS, and that, so you have to assume at some point that your site is going to be infected, and you have to determine how long is it going to take you to notice. Do you have plugins that are scanning for malware once a day, once every 12 hours? What? So you need to determine what's your window of opportunity to restore a site or remediate a site that's been infected. Because like I said, you have to have the mindset of the sites are going to get infected at some point, whether they are or not. You just have to take that mindset and say, okay, these sites, are super important. So we have to have, backup buddy running, and, we have to make sure that we've got backups all ready to go to restore these sites in case they are successfully breached. And like I said, even though, the authentication cookies bypass 2FA, it's still mandatory. You still have to have it because it's one more layer of defense. They talk all the time about defense in depth, and this is mandatory because if they're, and we'll get into this in a minute too, but there's things to prevent your authentication cookies from working. So as I said before, outsourcing creates opportunities. Hackers know that people from all over the world are somehow involved in web development, whether they're content writers, graphics people, web devs, whatever the case may be. Your team can be anywhere in the world. Now, not everybody has a mind toward what are the hackers doing. Some people feel that they can just fly under the radar and nobody's going to bother me because what am I doing? I'm not working on any e-commerce sites. I'm just doing some graphics. Well, hackers can embed a malicious code in your graphic files, and you upload that. They access the graphic file. Now they got a backdoor right into the website. So, by sitting through these sessions, what Nathan and I hope to gain is, it'll help you gain, is education on how hackers are working and all the different opportunities they're looking for. So when you're outsourcing to other people, like what qualifications are required? Well, a few things I've got listed here. Create separate users for everyone with an expiration date. Part of iTheme Security Pro is you can set up users with an expiration date, and that's a great feature. And demand, drill this into everybody's head, including your own, that people log out, not just close the tab or window, but actually log out of the WordPress admin console. Because when you do that, it kills the cookie. So even if it's stolen, it can't be used. So, and that goes right to point number 4. Did I already say 2FA? So if you have two-factor authentication and you're guaranteeing, you're beating it into everyone's head that they need to log out and not just close the tab or window. I used to be the same way. So I'm very familiar. Yeah, just boom, close the window, and that way, it's gone. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Close the tab, whatever. If I could show you my other screen, you'd see how many tabs I have open. So I should get used to closing tabs anyway, but us old dogs are hard to teach new tricks. So, but anyway, so even if your authentication cookie is stolen, if you've logged out, it's useless. So, because it registers that in the WordPress database that, that cookie's that's dead. So, and like I said, then you're left with 2FA. 2FA, if you don't have have to worry about authentication cookies being stolen, and you've got 2FA set up, you're miles and miles ahead of many people. So make sure you get that 2FA set up. Games that they play. So this was almost word for word from one of the Facebook groups recently. Somebody posted that two of their websites had been hacked, and their feeling was that it couldn't have been them or session, authentication cookie stolen, because if it was login credentials, then all their sites would be infected. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. That was the new FEMA alert just going off now.
Yeah, I think every cell phone in America is about to get a blast here in the next minute or two. Yeah.
So, but that's not the case. What hackers do is, like I said, they love to play games, and because obviously they think they're smarter than everybody else. So what they do is they may have access to, like in this guy's case, he said that I think he's got 10 servers and websites across all these 10 servers. So his feeling was, well, if it was stolen authentication cookies, then hackers would have infected all my sites. No, they'll infect two, possibly even from two different servers. And I say two, they may pick 3 or 4 depending on who it is, but so they'll just pick a few sites, and then they're going to watch. They're going to infect those sites, and then they're just going to watch to see how you respond. And depending on how you respond will determine what they do next. If you've got something that, as soon as the site's infected, bam, it's remediated, they're like, huh, how'd that go? Now they could either think one of two things. A, it's a big challenge, and then they're going to really step up their game, or they're going to be like, you know what, there's other people out there. We don't have to worry about this. Let's just move on and keep going. What they decide to do, that's totally up to them. So they will play this cat and mouse game where they'll infect a couple of sites, and then they wait and see how you handle it. And if, like, in 24 hours, the sites are cleaned up, or maybe you restored from backup, then they'll pick 2 other sites. Now, this is assuming that they've got control through like a management console. And that's, I don't know if I've made that clear yet, but that's pretty much the attack vector I'm looking at today. So they'll play cat and mouse. You clean the second 2 or 3, and then they see how you did that. Did that take another 24 hours, or is it now taking 48 hours? Because now you're trying to figure out how they got in. So then they started infecting, 4 or 5 different websites. So they play this cat and mouse with people all the time. And to be honest with you, most of it's automated. So, like, they may put in a list of all the websites, and then that they have access to, and then just decide from there, what games they're going to play and how they're going to infect them. Now, the infection on the second group that they breach, or that they infect, it could be a totally different infection, a totally different malware, different motivation, everything. So you never know, what they're doing. And what we're seeing also more and more of lately is the hackers will create a hidden process that's running in memory on your web server. And we've seen this with shared hosting accounts. We've seen this with the server accounts. You got the server with the DigitalOcean or Vultr or OVH, whoever. Their malware creates a hidden process, and then it deletes the file. So the process is still running in memory, but the file's gone. So you run a virus scan, and you're like, especially, again, I hate to beat the horse, but especially if it's a plugin malware scanner, because those don't necessarily, I don't know of any that are created to check the processes that are running for that website. So and the process could be, like, typically what we see is they take instructions. So it'll open up a port on your website or on your web server, and it just accepts instructions from the hackers. So they could say, here's a list of usernames and passwords, and here's a list of WordPress login URLs. See how many you can log into with these credentials, and maybe none of them. But again, it's something that's automated for the hackers. But that's what those hidden processes do. And now sometimes also in this one Facebook post that I was referring to earlier about if it was login credentials, as soon as the index file and typically some other files, but the index.php file in the root of the WordPress site, as soon as it was cleaned, this hidden process would automatically reinfect it. So you're like, and you can delete the file, you can delete the index file like through FTP, SSH, however you want to do it. And you'll notice like you do a refresh, like, wow, it's back already. That's because that hidden process is set so that, usually it's called a lock 360. And it's set so that it just automatically keeps, reinfecting the files that it's told to do. So you have to kill that you have to get to a command line, you have to kill that process. But the other thing, you see number 5 here, perpetual Perl programs. So I had to come up with something that was 3 Ps, just to make it, fun. Anyway, so what they do is they bury this Perl program. So it's no longer a PHP file, it's a Perl file. They bury it somewhere that's not in the file system of your WordPress site. So it's not in WP admin, WP includes, WP content. It's not one of the, the files at the root level there. They hide it somewhere else on the server that they have access to. And that Perl program just continually runs. And so you kill the process and think, okay, now, I've deleted all the malware on my website, and now I kill this process. Now I should be good. Nope, that Perl program's still running, and it checks to see, is the process still running, or are these files still there? And it just automatically just keeps reinfecting. So you have to find the Perl program, delete it, then kill the process, and then clean your site, and then you'll know that it's not going to come back right away. You still haven't found out how they got in, but anyway. So some of the solutions, and obviously, this is iTheme's security training, so focusing on their solutions. They have a thing in iTheme Security Pro, trusted devices. So like in this case, with the management consoles, hackers were stealing authentication cookies or login credentials to the management console. So like main WP, manage WP, WP umbrella, any of the other ones you guys might be using. They steal the credentials to log into those. Now, what do those programs allow you to do? Oh, they allow you to update, themes and plugins. You can install plugins, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's what the hackers are doing. They're installing bogus plugins and running them, and then they delete the files so that, again, it's running in memory. You can't see it. You run a malware scan because something's goofy's going on, or you get a notice from Vultr that they're going to shut down your server because it's attacking other sites, and so on and so forth. But with the trusted devices concept, only trusted devices can log in, obviously with other credentials, to into your websites. So it reduces the attack vector that's available to hackers. And with iTheme Sync or any of the other management consoles, you need to set up 2FA, and then also make sure that you are instructing all of your people, when you log into the management console, log out. Do not close the window or the tab. Log out, because then you're relying on 2FA. 2FA, depending on how you set it up, is going to put you miles ahead of what many people are dealing with. And the other thing is too, with the iThemes products, they have like a vast, I think it was like 1 million, somewhere over 1 million users of the iThemes services. So that means they're gathering information, intel, from a million different websites. So it's almost like a huge honeypot of websites gathering information and funneling it through, so they can block by IP address based on attacks that they're seeing in the wild. You got a million sites out there. Just like for us, we're approaching 7 million sites that we're watching. So the information that we gather from those sites is just incredible and helps us defend against other attacks. But so they can block by IP address, and some people say, oh, you can't effectively block by IP. Well, when you've got a million sites all funneling information into one location, and then it's dispersing that that block list or disallowed list out to all the to everybody. Now you got this hub and spoke kind of concept going on. All the at the end of the spoke is all the million websites. At the hub is iThemes, and all this information's feeding in, and then they're pushing it back out to their site. So I beg to differ that blocking by IP address is not effective. It's highly effective because when you're working with live data like that. And same thing with user agent. The combination of IP address and user agent, in my experience, going back to 2007, is highly effective at blocking hackers. Now, is it 100%? No, but you tell me one type of security that is 100%, and I'll be interested. But so like in our studies for this information with the management councils, one of the things that we were able to do is combine IP address and the user agent, because the problem with the user agent, as a lot of people in the security world will say, is that you can spoof that easily. You can't spoof an IP address because of the three-way handshake of TCP/IP. I'll save that for probably never. Anyway, but yeah, if you're ever interested in why you can't spoof an IP address, just look up the three-way handshake for TCP/IP. Genius. Anyway, but the user agent can be spoofed. So like I could sit here on my Windows 10 PC using Chrome, and I can start browsing websites, but I can trick those websites into thinking I'm coming off a Mac with a super old version of Safari, and there's nothing they can do. Or I can say, oh, I'm actually an Android phone coming in off of a recent version of Chrome, but yet here I am on my Windows PC. So the user agent is spoofable. Is that a word? It is now. So it's you can spoof it, but the combination of an IP address and the user agent, like if I see it's an IP address that's coming from a GoDaddy IP address, and the user agent says it's iThemes sync, I'm like, probably not. But if I can verify that it's an IP address by like managed WP, and the user agent is one that they use, then I could say, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure, 99.999% confident that that's legitimate traffic, and let it through. So, there's blocking by IP address and user agent. I had to put that in there because I continually see people that say, it's not a good way to prevent hackers, and it is. It's we constantly see attacks. In fact, we just saw some last week. Some group out of Eastern Europe, they were attacking websites with a version of Chrome that was like a double digit. Right now, I think the current version is like 117 dot something something something. This was like a version 12 or something like that, as the user agent. So like, yeah, okay, if somebody is coming to my website and they've got a browser that's that old, do I really want them as a customer or a viewer? I think I can let them go, because hackers, just like I said, they buy these tools. Sometimes the user agent is just built in, or the hackers just want to like see how many sites they can hit and figure nobody blocks my user agent because you can spoof it. So they don't even bother changing it. But anyway, it is an effective way of doing it. Now, some things that I wanted to put in here, some reports that you can read, is about this bunny loader, this newest malware service. When you get into the ecosystem of hackers, they want to find out as much as possible about WordPress and about the users and all that. I want to find out just as much about them as they know about WordPress. So I'm always digging. But this bunny loader malware really works to hide. Uh, they put bounties on their malware and say that, if anybody can successfully show us that our latest malware can be detected. Now I'm talking about on local devices, not on websites. This is malware on local devices, your Macs, your PCs, etc., your tablets, phones. So they'll offer a bounty if you can detect our malware with any of the current scanners out there, then we'll pay you a bounty. And so people are, working feverishly to try and detect it, and break it down and find out everything they possibly can about it. But so this bunny loader is some of the newest, and it's actually, they call it malware as a service. So it's MAAS. And it's a big thing in the hacker world. People will do nothing but create the malware, and then they sell licenses for it. So like for $350, you can get a license to this bunny loader and try and infect as many devices as you want. And then that'll send back the information to you. And then, you can do with it as you will, look for usernames and passwords, etc. And then this other one, this Chase malware, it now, as you can kind of read in the URL, it now uses Google Chrome DevTools protocol to steal data. And it actually, they've seen this, it actually takes screenshots of your device. So you might be logging in and, it's already stolen, like maybe the authentication cookies, but it needs to know, okay, where do I use these? Well, now it's stealing screenshots. So it knows exactly where you're logging in. And I've stated this for years now, people that use the, hide your your login URL. I've never really been a big fan of that. I guess it can be considered an extra layer of defense. It can be considered defense in depth, but I mean, come on, man, they're taking screenshots. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty good at programming, uh, never malware, but ways of detecting it and all sorts of other things. But I mean, to figure out how to take a screenshot, I guess, years ago, the big thing was you could tell you were infected because like your CD, I know I'm going way back because some of you people may not even remember what a CD is. But anyway, you'd have a CD tray on your computer, and one of the things hackers like to do is just let you know that they're inside your computer is they'd open up your CD tray, so you'd see it open, close, open, close, open, close. And those are the games they used to play. But now they're taking screenshots. Like, come on, nothing sacred anymore. So anyway, you get copies of the presentation here. So I encourage you, some people may not find the whole article interesting, but just so you understand where hackers are going, what are they doing, the steps, how good they are with technology. I'm going to take a screenshot. Anyway, not that I ever have anything, I have this presentation up on one screen. I've got a blog post that I've been working on since this morning on my other screen, but screenshots, they can take them. Anyway, so that's it. Nathan, oh yeah, I guess I should go over this. We started focusing, for you guys who weren't on the last time I was with Nathan, started focusing on website security in 2007, have removed malware from over 5.5 million sites. That's up considerably. Still haven't hit 6 million websites yet for removing malware, but we actively monitor almost 7 million websites now. Like I said, a lot of people are using our freemium service, and it's great for us for the intelligence that we can glean off of that. Our systems still ingest just slightly over 20 million log entries per second. I like watching it sometimes just because, I've got nothing better to do. So I watch the count of how many log entries we're taking in per second. So that equates to like 1.728 trillion log entries per day, and it's all analyzed. So that's how we can glean this information and present it to, as they say down here in the South, that's how we present it to y'all. Anyway.
Well, all right, folks. Yeah, let me invite everybody to pop open that Q&A window, take a scan down the question list. If any questions that are there you would like also to hear the answers to, click that thumbs up icon, and we'll get questions over to Thomas in just a minute. Thomas, before we move past this with We Watch Your Website, you talked earlier as we were getting started about a free level where they can receive monitoring. How would a person, what does that involve, and what does your paid service involve?
Okay, our free service is great. It's great for shared hosting accounts too, but primarily what we focus on is our free version for web servers. So if you're going through like a Grid Pane or a Run Cloud or CyberPanel, some of the Server Pilot, some of those services, then we can install our freemium service on there, and it monitors all your log files in real time and your files, your website files. So we'll see if a file has changed. Let's say you update some plugins through your management console, and our system will see that those files have been updated, and it just sends them. It pulls them down to our servers and analyzes them to make sure that they're not malicious. There's nothing malicious in them. And then it just goes on from there. So, but you're getting your files analyzed in near real time. But your log files are being monitored in real time. For like shared hosting accounts where we don't have root access. And unfortunately, still today, we haven't been able to get with Cloudways. I would love to be able to offer our freemium service on their servers, but they don't allow you to have root access. So it would have to be something that they install. But anyway, for any account with FTP access, we can monitor once every 2 hours throughout the day for log entries and for file changes. And then with our paid services, it's automatic malware removal, and and root cause analysis. So, because we're watching everything, and because we're, I hate to say it, experts at reading log files. I know, sounds exciting, right? But our systems are, we can determine pretty accurately how a website was infected. Was it an outdated plugin? Was it stolen authentication cookies? Was it stolen login credentials? We can tell the difference between all those. So anyway, so that's what our paid service does. It's automated remediation.
Excellent. And folks, I just invite you to take a look there at We Watch Your website at everything that Thomas and his team offer. A full server plan is $299 a year. That's a pretty good deal. Covers every site on that server for $300 a year.
Right.
So, all right. So Sue has a question to get us started here. You mentioned some of the, forget the alliteration that was used, but the little sneaky pearl programs that they like to hide in various spots. Does your software, Thomas, find those little files like that are hiding in various places?
Yes. There's, real quickly, years ago, when we were primarily doing Bluehost shared hosting accounts, we'd see where the hackers had actually logged in to their cPanel and gone in and added a cron job, and the cron job was running from a directory that was not part of the hosting account. So we're like, wait a minute, they shouldn't even be able to see that. And then we dig in further into Linux, like, they can see that. So we've been monitoring that. So any file that are in these directories that are accessible via the website that shouldn't have files in them, or shouldn't have PHP or Perl or Python files in them, that raises red flags with us. So yes, we can.
Sneaky. Yeah, sneaky. Another question here from Sue. When we see a lot of failed logins in a short time, we have to assume it's a hacker using a VPN or some other kind of IP hiding. Would you block all the IP addresses, or how would you address that? A lot of failed logins in a short amount of time.
Depends. I would, our system is set so that we would analyze those IP addresses. Like, is there a pattern? If they're residential IP addresses, they're harder to detect, but there again, when, just like you guys with your, million node network of sites that you guys are servicing, we've got 7 million. We should collaborate someday. That would be fun.
How about that?
We create our own blacklists, I should say block lists, of residential IP addresses that we block, and that's automatically pushed out to our servers and all of our stuff so that we know what to block. But
so a lot of times what I recommend in that situation is just simply protecting the login form with a CAPTCHA, or maybe running one of the Cloudflare rules that I recommend. Just makes all traffic to the WordPress login page pass through a managed challenge. Does that help to defeat those sorts of, lots of different invalid login attempts?
Yes, and if you are using the Cloudflare solutions, then that's being handled before it gets to your website. I'm always concerned about consuming website resources, and anytime you're running PHP on your site, like some type of URL challenge, or CAPTCHA, anything like that that's running on your site, you're consuming some resources. So the hackers could effectively do a DDoS, and shut your site down. If it's handled up on Cloudflare, with the challenge, then that it's not even getting to your website. So yeah, that's a great way to do it. But I would not necessarily, as an agency or a web dev, I would not try to maintain a list of blacklisted IP addresses. Yeah, you'll spend all your time doing that because the hackers have
Exactly.
so many available to them. So yeah, you'll spend all your time doing that and not have anything fun to do, like eating M&Ms,
Yes.
Sue.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Next question is from Shannon regarding iTheme Security. Does iTheme Security Pro have a setting to automatically log out a user after a certain period of inactivity? And Shannon, there's not, I don't believe there is a native setting for that. I just popped open the new beta of Solid Security that I'm looking at. I don't see that setting there. That is interesting. So look, Timothy's a smart guy, and if it's not in there, there's a reason, and I don't know what that is, but I will find out. We'll send Timothy a Slack and figure out what's going on there. There are plugins that can change the default, the login cookie, whatever that is, the thing that starts
Expiration.
the countdown. That, yes, what you just said. There's snippets and things. Thomas, what do you recommend on average for a good rule of thumb for a log out period?
I would say typically like, half an hour, 15 minutes to 15 to 30 minutes, is about, because if you got, if you're inactive for that long, then you should have to log back in, you know. Yeah, any less than that, you might get lost in thought or something and jump over, check on something else real quick, and then you come back like, I lost it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So I just dropped a plugin that we've used on a number of sites called Inactive Logout that works great. It just does this thing, and has a little UI where you can set your time. It works just fine. I think the default WordPress setting is like 24 hours.
right, yeah.
So that's not ideal. I wonder why the WordPress security team hasn't addressed that.
I don't know. I mean, it would be great if it was, part of the core, but
At least
yeah,
less than a day, maybe 3 hours even in core,
right.
something, but
Yeah,
who knows?
2 hours, yeah, something.
Yeah. Question from Shannon about your paid monitoring services. Shannon uses Nexus managed WordPress, doesn't have a cPanel. It's a managed WordPress platform. Would I need to set up or pay for a separate account for each website under your pricing scenario?
Nexus does things differently. So it's like each account is a separate FTP account for us. So technically, yes, it would have to be, separate. Depending on how many she's got, if she wants to reach out, we can talk. We've got millions of websites, so yeah. I mean, if she, depending on how many she's talking about, we can talk about, some arrangement with her. So
Great.
just reach out.
Yeah, just reach out through the website, Shannon, and chat with Thomas. I'm sure he'll figure something out for you. Let's see. A question from an anonymous attendee. The free plan that you offer, does that involve a plugin, or what's involved with setting that up?
No, none of our services involve a plugin. Sorry, iThemes, but I just early on, I mean, when I first started this, I was nervous about writing a plugin because, how do you account for everything? Now I got to learn the dark, deep secrets of WordPress, from the inside out, without skipping a beat. And then, I remember one of the times early on, one of the big security plugins had a vulnerability that was exploitable, that just freaked out. Like, no, I'm never doing a plugin. So no, our stuff doesn't require a plugin. That's why, like on our server plan, we do need root access so we can install everything. But then, unlike security plugins, hackers can't tamper with it. The less we install on a website, the less opportunities hackers have for, circumventing our system, and then we don't see something happen. So no plugins.
Yeah. Really, your service is almost better, rather than equating it to a security plugin. It's almost better equated to like an operating system level malware scanner, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, and there again, we don't, because of the way we analyze malware, we don't put the malware engines on your web server because that would consume huge resources. So we grab the files, any file we see added or changed on any of your sites, we grab it and it gets analyzed. If it needs remediation or cleaning, deletion, whatever, that's handled by our system as well, but it's all automated.
Question here from Manu. You mentioned earlier managed WP. How secure would you say managed WP is, or is that a question you can even answer?
Yes, they're all very secure. And like I said, this recent scenario has nothing to do at all with the coding of these services. Nothing at all. It's just hackers finding a way in. And it's, the weak link in this case is users not logging out. If they log out, the authentication cookie's dead. You got 2FA set up. You're looking good.
Yeah. Question down the list from Melissa. Does iThemes provide a training to best secure our websites? So Melissa, we've done a number of trainings. For example, I've given my settings on how we secure sites with iThemes security for the agency clients that we manage. I would recommend that you follow the install wizard, though. It depends on the scenario of the sites and how you're managing. Is it just your site, or are you managing sites for clients? The iThemes onboarding wizard and iThemes security does a really good job of helping you select the correct settings. Okay, you're managing for clients. Melissa, as Thomas answers the next question, I'll go and look for the last disaster day series that we did and drop that link in, because I share a lot of tips there as I manage for clients. So give me just a minute. I'll drop that in the chat. And in the meantime, Thomas, feel free to take as long as you want to answer this next question. Let's see. Yeah. So Sue would like to know, if a site is on a shared server, are there hosting companies that do allow root access?
Sorry, Nathan, but no.
Okay. I should have asked a longer question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they, the people that are using shared hosting accounts are, looking for ease of use and so forth. And you don't want ease of use when you're talking root access.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Okay, here's a scenario described by Manu. Google Analytics on some of the sites that he's working with shows a spike of visits, a significant spike of visits. Is that showing something he should pay attention to? And maybe if I rephrase it this way, do bots and malware, do those show up in Google Analytics?
Yes. Yeah, they show up in Google Analytics. To me, it would be something, an area of concern. If he has the log files, the access logs, I would try and, correlate those with what he's seeing in the Google Analytics, and probably going to see a huge spike in bots hitting at that specific time.
Yeah, for sure. Melissa, I just dropped in the link for Disaster Week from 2022. We did not do a disaster week yet this year, which I just realized. That's interesting. But if you'll look on the replay link at the very bottom, I believe it's sessions 5 and 6 is where I talk about the client side of security and setting up care plans and settings and so forth. So that should help you, Melissa. And anybody else that wants access, it is right there for you. Let's see. Anonymous question. We use pair networks to host our sites on a shared server. We do about 30 per shared server. Have you worked with pair networks before, and can you set up in their system?
I think, because I don't think they're VPSs. I think it's almost like a shared hosting account. So I'd have to dig through our stuff to find out for sure. But as long as we have an FTP account, we can go with our our lower price model, or we have a freemium version of that as well. But then we can only scan the files and grab the logs like once every 2 hours.
Hmm.
So, but if it's a VPS and he has root access, then yeah, we can set up the full blown, we've got some servers with 200 websites on them, 204 websites on them. And, on our server plan, they're all covered. So,
yeah. Monty would like to know if you're using any sort of AI to analyze all these millions and millions of log entries.
definitely.
You're not reading all of those, Tom?
Sometimes, yeah.
Because why not, right?
Right. I mean, I literally do. I'll sit here and I'll scroll, and I don't know, certain things jump out at me. I'm like, ooh, what was that? And our system has already analyzed it, but it's like, I spent all this time learning how to read log files. I don't want to lose it. So, but yeah, we are using a lot of AI, and it's interesting. It's not, foolproof, but it is very interesting. Some of the things that it finds and thinks is safe and it's not, or thinks that it's malicious and it's not. But that's all part of the machine learning process. So
very interesting. All right. Well, we're coming up right at the top of the hour here. So Thomas, really great stuff. Great information. Any final thoughts as we're wrapping up?
like I said, if take nothing else out of this, force everybody to log out and activate 2FA wherever you can.
That's great takeaways. Force to log out and use 2FA.
And it's easy things to do. I mean, you got no reason not to do it.
Yeah, great point.
So please do it.
Well, Thomas, how can they find you again?
They can reach me at Traef, TRAEF. It's fear spelled backwards. At wewatchyourwebsite.com. Or they can just go to our website, wewatchyourwebsite.com, and click around. It's an ugly site, but it's being worked on. So
excellent. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us today. A lot of good information about what's happening in WordPress security. Thanks again, Thomas. Thank you all for being with us. I'm back tomorrow for our members for office hours at 1 o'clock Central as usual. So we'll see you back here tomorrow on iThemes Training, where we go further together.